Peterson, ABC News.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs, recognizing first responders and other deserving individuals in our community. Friday mornings at 8:30 on News Talk KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Roof Rescue. If it seems like you're hearing about a lot more crimes in Cache Valley, well, that's because there is a lot more happening nowadays. Interim Cache County Attorney Dane Murray called that trend alarming and concerning in a report to members of the Cache County Council on Tuesday night. In 2017, he explained Cache County recorded 122 violent offenses. By 2021, however, that number had soared to 359. In 2022, the county reported 291 violent offenses in just 10 months. Murray expects that the final numbers for 2022 will equal the previous year when November and December statistics are added. In terms of various felonies, the news is even worse. Murray said that Cache County law enforcement has begun grouping felonies that pertain to so-called special victims. Those crimes include felony domestic violence, felony child physical abuse, sex offenses against children, sex offenses against adults, internet crimes against children, and homicides. In the 3-year period from June 1st, 2014 to May 31st, 2016, Cache County reported 394 crimes falling into that special victims category. In the 3-year period that followed, from June 1st, 2016 to May 31st, 2019, county officials responded to 638 crimes of that category. According to data from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, America's homicide rate had been trending steadily downward over the past 2 decades until 2020. Then murder skyrocketed to the highest level in 25 years with more than 21,000 homicides nationwide. KVNU News Time is 5:07. KVNU weather for tonight: cloudy, slight chance of snow this evening, then a chance of snow after midnight, 30% chance. Low overnight near 20 degrees. Snow likely Friday morning, then snow in the afternoon, accumulation around 1 inch, high temperature in the lower 30s. 50% chance of snow Friday night and Saturday, and then snow likely on Sunday. It's been to 21 is all today. Right now, it is 21 degrees at KVNU. January clearance continues at U&I Furniture. Lots of closeouts and really good value store-wide on chairs, and also closeout deals on Maloof product as well. For over 90 years, there's always a better buy at U&I, 28 West, 1st North, downtown Logan.
This is David from Roof Rescue. A roof is not something most people think about until they notice a leak on the ceiling. This time of year, fluctuation in temperatures, along with rain, snow, and ice, can do a number on your roof. If you notice these leaks, they won't go away on their own and are oftentimes a sign that the roof has reached the beginning of the end of its life. Call Roof Rescue for a free analysis, diagnosis, and estimate. Let's fix those leaks and keep you dry this winter. Call 435-999-4268 or visit roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
KVNU News Time is 5:08. The Utah Homeowners Assistance Fund program is a housing assistance program for homeowners in Utah who have been financially impacted by the recent COVID-19 pandemic. To be eligible for the UHAF program, applicants must have been financially impacted by COVID-19 after January 21st, 2020. You must own and occupy the property located in Utah as your primary residence, and you must meet income limits and other criteria for the program. This funding can be used to pay past due mortgage payments and past due manufactured home loan debt or past due monthly rents. The UHAF program can also pay property taxes or insurance premiums that are past due, pay past due co-op or condo homeowner association or maintenance fees, and facilitate an interest rate reduction to make monthly payments more affordable. For more information or to start an application, visit homeownerassistance.utah.gov or contact Deanna Newbold at Bragg at 750 make that 713-1436. And the Moab Valley Fire Department announced a volunteer firefighter has died from an off-duty cardiac event. They say Matthew Neeson passed away on Tuesday in Moab. He served with the Moab Valley Fire Department for 18 years as a volunteer firefighter. Throughout his service, he received promotions to the ranks of lieutenant and captain. Matthew was dedicated to the fire service and made a large impact on the community of Moab and his fellow firefighters. Crew members with Moab Valley said in a social post. Along with Matthew's dedication to his community, he was an extremely dedicated husband to his wife Amber and father to his 4 children. The Grand County Sheriff's Office also released a statement following Neeson's death, saying that not only was Matthew their brother, but he was a husband, a father, a son, and a hero. Funeral arrangements were still being figured out as of last night. KBNU News Time is 5:11. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Hey everybody, John Weiss from Heritage Jeep. You know, getting from point A to point B in Utah weather is always a gamble, unless of course you're in a Jeep. And there's never been a better time to find yourself behind the wheel of one of the most rugged and capable vehicles on the planet. Right now at Heritage, check out $4,500 bonus cash allowance on 2022 Jeep Gladiator 4x4, the Jeep that does it all. Heritage Jeep, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
Are you moving into a new home? You want to breathe your own dirt, not somebody else's. You should have your air ducts cleaned by the Duct Hunter to get rid of old dust, pet hair, and a variety of other people's dirt. Call today to get on the schedule for a free consultation. Call the Duct Hunter at 770-4813.
We are the Duct Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duct Hunter.
Welcome back to KBNU's For the People, Hour 2 of today's show, Thursday, January 26th. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio as well, and it is time for our monthly installment of Speak to the Mayor. Last week we spoke with Logan City Mayor Holly Daines, and that interview is available on our podcast subscription. Now it is time for a look at North Logan City, also one of the fastest growing areas in the valley in a lot of different ways, with North Logan Mayor Lindsay Peterson here in the studio. 753-5868 if you'd like to join us, if you have a comment or a question for the mayor. And Mayor Peterson, appreciate your time, as always, doing this once a month with us. I know it's not easy to always find the time, but we appreciate it, and it does give just a really unique insight into city government and what's going on, because we don't script these, we don't plan them out, and we can talk about anything. So far, we haven't gotten anyone in trouble. I'm really impressed with that.
That's mostly true. You haven't gotten me in trouble. How's that?
That's
But I love it. I think this is a fun thing, and it's always cool when I have people say, "Oh, I heard you on the radio." It's just another way of reaching people, and I think that's great.
It's really important now because, it's always been important, and it's always something I've always loved about radio is that it's live, and you're talking about literally what's happened that day, but also the forum of just sitting down and having a conversation. We're dealing with a lot in Cache Valley, and that can be negative stuff and positive stuff. But either way, I think everyone looks around them now, regardless of what city they live in, and they see a lot of change, and that can sometimes make us a little reactionary as residents.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that there's always concern about, does the person that represents me feel the same way I do on these issues? Are they aware of these things? And,
Sure.
And I feel that way, with our legislators, and, I can relate to that feeling. But I think that this kind of creates, like you said, a dialogue, and I think that that's really valuable in just kind of, I don't know. I love giving access to people if they do have questions.
Sure.
I think this is a really great forum for that.
And please, if you do, join us, 753-5868. Any question is fair game. I mean, obviously, Mayor Peterson, the mayor of North Logan City, she's not going to be able to answer questions about decisions being made in Hiram or Mendon, but there are a lot of interconnected issues and things that individual cities are dealing with that tie in with things the county or even the state are dealing with. So join us, 753-5868. And a request from our newsroom, Mayor Peterson, as a starting point here. A member of our newsroom, good friend Rod, asked if we would ask for an update on, this has been going, how long has this been going on now?
It's about exactly a year.
I was thinking it was about this time last year. Logan City went to several cities and said, paraphrasing here, of course, look, some things have got to change. More of the burden of some of these services Logan City was able to provide countywide, falling on Logan City now as other cities grow. It's just not sustainable. And so they didn't set a deadline with, per se, but they said roughly as quickly as possible, we need to work out some changes as far as trash collection. And I know they're dealing with conversations about other contracts with other cities, but that did affect North Logan, right?
It did, yeah. Initially, they just issued a letter and said, look, you have 3 years, I believe is what the initial term was, and said, figure out garbage on your own. And initially, I was just barely elected at that point, and it was not a headache that I wanted to take on, especially, admittedly, knowing nothing about garbage collection. And there's been a lot that's happened in the last year. I think it's been a really great opportunity for many cities in the Valley to have a lot of interaction that maybe we wouldn't otherwise. I speak on the phone with mayors from other jurisdictions daily. I've talked to 4 mayors today. So
wow.
Yeah. And so that's been a really great opportunity. It's been good to get to know some of them.
So this has been a really active year-long conversation.
It really has. Yeah. So where we are right now, to give you an update, is that we've formed the Cash Waste Consortium, which is a legal entity that will replace the service district that previously oversaw garbage hauling. And we interviewed 4 haulers, and we've chosen one, and we're in contract negotiations with them right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're on the cusp of that. I would imagine
you're on the cusp of being ahead of that 3-year quasi deadline by a lot.
Yeah, we're aiming for September 1st.
Wow, really?
We are. Yeah, that's what we're hoping. There are a lot of things. I think it's like any contract or like building a house, where there are a lot of things to hammer out. But yeah, we're close. We're close on this.
This is, and I remember you told us before when we talked about this. Another goal of yours and the cities in general is to have this be as
seamless.
Unnoticeable by residents as possible, and not in a hide it kind of way, and as in they don't even notice there's been a change. Right.
Yeah. The way I think if we're doing our job right, they don't have a big transition between one hauler to another. Yeah. So I think I can say that we are in contract negotiations with Waste Management, and they've committed to us that they're going to do everything they can to educate, to try and to make that transition as smooth as possible. And so I'm optimistic about that. I know that it's going to be a lot of hard work between now and then. Sure. I believe that we're going to probably have weekly calls on that to kind of make that transition. But I think was probably an inevitability. I've come to realize with Logan City that it's really just probably not a reasonable expectation that they would do that forever.
As growth happens everywhere.
Yeah. So I've maybe been through all the stages of grief. Denial. Are you sure you're kicking us out? But I think we're at acceptance now, so that's good.
It's interesting because it really, I think for a lot of us, you think, well, what's the big deal? So Logan City's not going to do it. You find someone else that wants to do it, and you say, we'll start paying you instead. It's not at all that simple, right? No. When you guys started a year ago, the whole committee that you chair had to first look into the city finances in general, right? As a starting point.
Well, yeah. So I think the starting point was to try and figure out to form the to form this group that would handle it. So you have to have this legal entity that can contract with a hauler. And so that took a long time. And also, what really probably took the most time is letting each city sort out what they wanted. So we had 4 cities that separated from that consortium to go a different direction. And, that fallout took a long time to sort out. And as you might imagine, to get 15 cities on the same page has taken a lot of meetings, and then to get lawyers on the same page with. So probably the first step was setting up that consortium, and then it was communicating with those haulers to say, here's our request for proposal, and hammering that out.
Sure.
And I've learned a lot more than I ever thought I'd know about trash in this process.
That's interesting.
But it's been really interesting, and it's been really heartening to see how communities work together. And, it's been a really great learning experience. I think it's been a really good way for me to adjust to being mayor, because it's an entirely different form of leadership. So,
and a big project.
Yeah.
Kind of a once in a political career project. Honestly, I mean, these things don't happen often in Cache Valley. And as you said, a month into office, boom, here's this. Has it changed your perspective on other issues North Logan is currently or will soon be dealing with?
It has, yeah. I think that, it has. I think just because I'm working with a lot of different people, whether that's on a county level, whether that's, just learning the ins and outs of municipalities, like the legal requirements surrounding these kinds of things.
Sure.
Yeah, I've learned a lot, and I think that, I've made some mistakes along the way too, and I think that's super valuable going forward, that, hopefully it makes taking on maybe smaller projects a lot easier.
Very nice. This is, honestly, it's just great to have a frank conversation about this stuff, and it's just the business of city governments, but a little more complicated than what is typical as the valley grows and changes. North Logan absorbing some of those changes with this renegotiation and plans for taking over trash collection. Other cities out there, if there are mayors and city council members from other cities thinking, whew, glad this is nothing, it's going to be. So maybe reach out to Mayor Peterson and see if she's got some tips, because everybody's growing. 753-5868 if you'd like to join us here in the studio. North Logan Mayor Lindsay Peterson, our guest this hour. Please join us. We'll be back right after this.
If you've been with the same insurance company for many years, you're probably experiencing rate creep. Hi, this is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. What is rate creep? This is where your rates increase every year, but your agent doesn't have any other options for you. Auto Owners Insurance and Quality First will give you options. Quality First Insurance, 752-0101, right in front of Fisher Home Furnishings. For more information, go to q1ins.com.
It's the January closeout and clean out time at UNI Furniture with lots of really good values store-wide. Pick out a chair, lift chairs, accent chairs, rocker recliners. Choose options like power or manual, fabric or leather, chairs with lumbar support and heat. They've also picked up lots of Maluk products at closeout prices. A Queen hybrid mattress is $489, normally twice that. Queen headboards less than $100, and while they last, Queen adjustable bases $199. For 93 years, a family-owned business where you'll like their honest approach. There's always a better buy at UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
The Green Canyon Booster Club would like to thank their Alpha Club sponsors, Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning and Advanced Fireplace and Stove, Bridgeland Cash Animal Hospital, Merrill's Convenience Stores, Foothills, Sterling Endodontics, Alpine Cleaning and Restoration, Marcosian Auto, Sadler Construction, Alpha Graphics, Cache Valley Media Group, and the Foot and Ankle Center. The Green Canyon Booster Club would like to invite you to support the sponsors that support the Wolves.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. North Logan Mayor Lindsay Peterson, our guest here in the studio. And I didn't mention this because I didn't have permission yet. I wanted to make sure she was okay with it. But North Logan Mayor Peterson brought a guest with her today. And I this is a unique opportunity to get this perspective. But Mayor Peterson, you brought your daughter, Daphne, with you today. And Daphne, I just want to ask you, what do you think of the job your mom's doing? Is she acing it? Should she... referendum time? I mean, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's been a really cool experience being able to say that my mom's the mayor and just being able to be in the parade. But it also is kind of hard because she's always busy, like in meetings and on the phone. But I always get to know what's going on, so.
I love, honestly, on a serious note, I love being able to humanize this job. We have a tendency to forget state legislature, county officials, mayors, city council members, that, these are friends and neighbors. Most elected officials have families and other responsibilities outside of the elected office. And so, Daphne, I appreciate you kind of reminding us all of that. It is easy to forget our elected officials are human.
Yeah,
especially
I agree.
on social media.
And even I can use that reminder that even people that I disagree with, I would say, for the most part, everyone is doing the best that they can, and they're sincere in their motivations. So I think it is a good reminder. I think I've experienced that over this past year, sometimes in good ways and sometimes in bad, where, I'm just trying to do the best I can here. And, but yeah, we're all people. But really, my kids are a large part of why I decided to run for mayor, because really on that city level, there's so much that you can affect about their day-to-day lives. And I think that's, you can't go wrong, right? If you're really just trying to make the best decisions for the people in your city.
And just, when we talk about growth and housing and all these things that are, I think a lot of elected officials might use the word plaguing cities right now, because these are huge challenges with not a lot of easy options. But it's people like you, Daphne, that's what this is about, right? Everyone at least wants to have the option for their child to graduate high school, go to college, whatever the future plans might be for you, Daphne, for others out there, and stay here and live in, if not North Logan, the Valley. And so when we talk about housing, when we talk about growth that's coming to the Valley, despite all the pain that comes with that, planning-wise and other, it's the alternative is a future where, Daphne, as you grow and graduate high school and do whatever you decide to do with your life, you can't stay because there's nowhere to live and there's nowhere to drive. And that's the challenge we're trying to meet, right? Yeah.
And I think sometimes we get stuck in, I want my kids to be able to move back.
Sure.
But everyone else just stay away. And, we I think as a city official, we just have to do our best to think on that broader level to say, how do we facilitate everyone's kids having that opportunity to move back? Because, realistically, it all comes from a great place where this is such a great place to raise children and such a great place to work and live. And so, we're trying to balance that trade-off between, letting everyone who wants to and who can move here, but also, keeping the same sort of feel in our city.
As possible. Yeah. It's a tough thing to balance. I'm glad that we're focusing on this in advance, though. A lot of other cities are trying to claw some of that back, and that's not always possible, and definitely not cheaper. And before we move on to, I just have to mention this, that Daphne, you're reading a history book by Kenneth Davis. This is, I'm impressed. I really am. You going to run for office one day, you think? Maybe?
Maybe.
Remember that name, folks. I might see her on a ballot one day. Thank you, Daphne, for playing along and for letting us put you in the spotlight. And Mayor Peterson, before we run out of time, I know there are a lot of things always going on in North Logan. We had a chance recently to spotlight the library and some really cool things that are going on. And they are doing that, or are doing, I don't remember the date
gala
now.
on Friday.
Yeah, this Friday, right?
Yep, and then the tea party on Saturday.
That was a fun conversation. And what a unique event, because it's not often that you have this event planned where they're actually saying, please show up in this era clothing.
Right.
And this is not an easy era to dress from either.
You got to go all in.
Oh, I'm excited to see what happens with this. And for a good cause, too. I've linked to that, by the way, on our Facebook page if you're interested in the Tea Party or the Friday night event from the Bill, you have a story on this as well, right? CashValleyDaily.com. I'll find a link for that.
I believe, yeah.
We'll throw that back up on the Facebook page. But one thing I learned, Mayor Peterson, from that conversation with the director and others, that they're pretty creative there at the library.
Yeah, they are. They do such a good job, and James has a great staff there that really just they do such a good job at dreaming up things that people love. They just do. I'm always impressed when I go to their events, just how well they've thought things through. And cool. I'm super excited for both those events.
I hope they're a big success, again, for a good cause, and hoping for a continued bright future for the library. And anything else on the calendar, things you want to make sure North Logan residents know about?
Yeah, we just have that health and wellness fair that's on February 13th coming up. But really, that's about it on the calendar.
That's always a big event in the city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool. It's usually at the Hanson Sports Complex or the former RSL building, and they have a lot of vendors come to that. And I know my kids loved it last year. So
good information. That's especially, if you just after the deadline selected a new health insurance plan, the health and wellness fair can be a great place to get questions answered.
Yeah,
going forward. So. That was what date again?
That is February 13th.
February 13th. Okay. We'll put a link up on our Facebook page to that as well. You can also check out the city's website, northlogancity.org.
Yeah.
I always get that wrong every time. northlogancity.org. Thanks again to you, Mayor Peterson, for your time, to our listeners for your time. Daphne, for letting us put you in the spotlight for a little while. Enjoy the book. And please stay tuned. Look at what happened on Capitol Hill. Kind of a controversial day for the Utah Legislature into week 3 of the session, wrapping up week 3 of the session. We'll be back and recap the day's action right after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:32, and this look at the news is brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. The Utah Senate has voted to approve a bill that ties teacher pay raises to a school voucher program known as the Utah Fits All Scholarship. After lengthy debate Wednesday, the Senate voted 20-8 to pass House Bill 215. It still needs to be voted on in the Senate one more time before the measure would head to Governor Spencer Cox's desk. The proposal, which has moved rapidly through the opening days of the 2023 legislative session, through that session would spend $200 million to give Utah teachers an additional $6,000 pay raise proposed by the governor, but it ties that pay raise to the $42 million voucher program in which parents could receive $8,000 per child to pay for private school or other educational options. Senator Kirk Cullimore, Republican from Sandy, said the bill is not an indictment on the public education system. He said the bill is about kids and helping each of them on an individual basis. Cullimore said that roughly 5,000 students would be able to receive scholarships under the current bill. They would be required to submit a portfolio at the end of the school year to account for how they used the money. House Bill 215 is opposed by the Utah Education Association, the Utah State Board of Education, and other educational groups. An Idaho lawmaker has introduced legislation that would ask voters to change the state's constitution to make it harder to get initiatives on the ballot. Republican Senator Doug Okinowitz of Hayden introduced the joint resolution Wednesday in the state Senate State Affairs Committee. If approved, it would ask voters to change the Idaho Constitution so that lawmakers could reenact tougher ballot initiative rules that were thrown out by the Idaho Supreme Court in 2021. And former Weber State standout Damian Lillard scored a season-high 60 points, hitting 9 3-pointers. And the Portland Trail Blazers beat the visiting Utah Jazz 134-124 on Wednesday night. KBNU News Time is 5:35.
Help your car do better in the cold weather with these items from your locally owned Napa Auto Parts. Save up to $19 a pair on silicone wiper blades from Trico and Rain-X. Diesel additives from Howes, Power Service, Schaefer's, and Stanadyne are all in stock. Get a $20 rebate on Napa Legend and Napa AAA batteries. Night vision headlights, 50% off. Great parts, great service at your 5 locally owned Preston to Providence Napa Auto Parts.
KBNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy, slight chance of snow this evening, chance of snow after midnight, areas of fog and haze continuing tonight, low near 20, and then snow likely Friday morning, snow in the afternoon, accumulation around 1 inch, high temperature in the low 30s. 50% chance of snow Friday night into Saturday. It's been to 21, it's 21 right now at KBNU. Contact Northern Steel Building's Cache Valley team to protect what's yours at northernsteelbuilding.com. Value from concept to construction. Call 435-677-7300. For more details on these and other stories, visit cachevalleydaily.com.
Express your love for her this Valentine's Day by presenting a piece of diamond jewelry from S.E. Needham Jewelers. Diamond jewelry makes a woman feel cherished. A pair of beautiful diamond earrings will add to the sparkle in her eyes. Adorned in diamond earrings, she will feel elegant and appreciated. Choose from a large selection of quality diamond earrings, all specially priced for Valentine's Day. Remember, diamonds from S.E. Needham's will be noticed from across the room, and everyone will know she's yours. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
100 plus businesses, thousands of people, free parking, Main Street access. It's the Cache Valley Media Group Home and Garden Show presented by Anderson Seed and Garden at the Eccles Ice Center, March 24th and 25th. If you are a home and garden business, from crafts to home building or excavation to emergency preparedness, this show is for you. Google Cache Valley Home and Garden Show for details.
That's Cache Valley Home and Garden Show.
Or call 752-1390 for more details.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Pretty big day on Capitol Hill today. The legislature, a little background on what happened today. The legislature, under the leadership that it currently has, Senate President Stuart Adams and House Speaker of the House, Representative Brad Wilson, both Republicans, of course, leading the majority caucuses, they have decided, and over the last couple of years let this play out this way, that they'll front load the legislature with the issues that they know are going to be the most controversial. Their justification for this is that these controversial bills can sometimes be a distraction towards the end of the legislative session when they're trying to focus entirely on working out the details of the budget, which is their constitutional mandate during the 45-day session to pass that. The better explanation is that getting the controversial bills up on the calendar early and through committee into a House and Senate floor vote within the first couple of weeks of the multi-week legislative session stops people from being able to organize against the bills, to call lawmakers to protest at the Capitol, to raise a stink. That's the cynical take, and unfortunately I believe that is probably the correct take based on at least what we've seen from this iteration of the legislature with this leadership. So because of that, the controversial bills this session, the anti-trans bills, as they're known, the school vouchers bill, were very early on the calendar. And in fact, two of the most controversial bills in that category came up today. And, well, I'll just put it this way. Unfortunately, with the support of Cache Valley lawmakers, a very unpopular program to create school vouchers in rural Utah, at least. As I've explained before on the show, the idea of school vouchers is popular in Utah County and with conservatives in Salt Lake County because, there's a lot of public money that can be redirected to private for-profit schools, and ideologically, that's something that they support, conservatives oftentimes in general. But vouchers in general have never been popular here in Utah because of our urban-rural mix. There's such a disparity between what exists education-wise outside of the Salt Lake County and Utah County areas that the concern is that a voucher program will funnel money not only out of the public school system into private for-profit schools, but also out of the rural areas into the already pretty well-moneyed Salt Lake County and Utah County areas. This will happen. That's why the voucher program has never survived due to referenda. What happened today, though, is let's back up a bit. Whether you support school vouchers or not, what happened today and what happened with House Bill 215 in general is unfortunate just from a process perspective. Because, as the Senate sponsor, Kirk Collimore, admitted in an interview in the Salt Lake Tribune just yesterday, this was done for politics. And what was done was the proposal to raise teachers' salaries here in Utah, which is being done not as a gift to teachers. It's being done because we have a teacher shortage issue. We can't attract teachers into the state, having a hard time keeping teachers in the state, even if they're educated here. And the reason for that, analysts have said, is salary. We aren't competing with other states. So this isn't a gift to teachers. This is a gift to the rest of the state, raising teacher salaries. That was the governor's proposal. The legislature, in their quote-unquote wisdom, said, all right, fine, but we want our school voucher program. And knowing that this has never been publicly popular broadly across the state, only in the most populous areas of the state has this ever gained any traction, the idea of a school voucher program, they hijacked the teacher salary increase proposal, attached a school voucher program to it, and made it one single bill. Representative Candace Pierucci, unfortunately, put her name on this one, and the reason it was her is that, when they tried to do this last year with the Hope scholarships, because they don't want to say school vouchers, they know they aren't popular here in Utah, they called them Hope scholarships, and it went up in flames. And the reason for that is the lawmaker sponsoring the bill that year was, it was pretty easy to tie that lawmaker to private for-profit schools. So they found someone with no ties to private for-profit schools, Representative Candace Pierucci from the Utah County area, and she ran the bill. And she has been getting an earful since the bill was unveiled. Unfortunately, our legislature, again, showing themselves to be a bit out of touch with especially rural voters, even rural Republican conservatives in this state, who polling suggests aren't fans of voucher programs themselves, making Utah a bit unique in that way. They just kind of ignored everyone. The bill passed the Senate, or passed the House first, then went to the Senate, was changed by the Senate, went back to the House, was changed by the House, and now it goes back to the Senate for final approval. And then that happened. This all played out this afternoon. And obviously, everyone got the message from leadership. This needs to pass with a majority high enough. There's a threshold here in Utah in which if a bill passes by a certain majority of votes, a citizen referendum cannot be launched against it. And I would guess that's why you see every Cache Valley lawmaker, Republican representatives, and our Senator Chris Wilson, unfortunately, voting for this program. So on the bright side, it's small. I mean, it's $42 million. That's a lot of taxpayer money that's going to go to these private schools. But it is small. It is not going to hollow out the education budget yet, but the door is now open to that. And it's an unfortunate thing, again, regardless of how you feel about vouchers themselves, whether you're for them or against them, this process is nothing to be proud of at all. Hijacking the teacher salary proposal, which should have been its own bill or budget item, and attaching this pet political issue, which the Senate sponsor, Kirk Collimore, admitted it was. This is something they really just wanted to do, and these darn voters kept stopping them over and over since 2007. That's literally what happened here. So they saw an opportunity and cynically they took it. And the unfortunate thing about that, again, regardless of how you feel about school vouchers, the really unfortunate thing about this is it cheapens the process. And every year for the last 4, there's been something like that. The faith in the legislative process is going to continue to decline. The Utahns' faith that they can get their lawmakers to respond to them and vote the way their constituents want them to vote when leadership says do something the opposite, that faith is going to diminish. It's an unfortunate thing to see, and I'm very disappointed that Cache Valley lawmakers didn't speak out about this process itself, even if they support vouchers, which I know for a fact not all of them do. Not speaking out about the process behind this, which is a shameful process. Very disappointing to see, but it's a done deal. It now rests on the governor. The governor does have the option to veto this. I would guess if he does, the legislature will convene for a veto override and have the votes to do so. So it'll basically be a performative move on the governor's part if he does that. But the governor does represent the entire state, not just the more populous areas of the state. So we'll see. The governor, I know, is under pressure. This was opposed by not only the teachers union and the PTA, but also the Utah Board of Education came out against this. Utah organizations who work with children in schools that come from families with less, those organizations spoke vehemently against this during the final committee meeting earlier this week, and just everyone got ignored. Because leadership, who, by the way, both come from areas that will benefit from this, i.e. not rural Utah, leadership basically said this will happen. And unfortunately, even our representatives fell in line without a peep about the process behind this, which, again, is just a shameful thing to see. Cheapening their own institution. They could have just run 2 bills. Run 2 bills and have a vote on both bills. There's a reason they didn't do that. And it's one of the most cynical things I've seen in a long time. It's just unfortunate, but here we are. The voucher bill has passed all of the necessary hurdles in the legislature and heads off to the governor's desk. And the governor has signaled he will support it, but he's been pretty quiet as public pressure from rural areas of the state has ramped up, especially this week. So we'll see what happens next. The other big controversial issue that also came up today is a bill that did pass one chamber, heads off to the other for additional debate early next week. So this one, not at all a done deal. But this is a bill that would ban hormone therapies and what is referred to as gender-confirming therapies in medical practice here in Utah and throughout the nation. These are therapies that medical practices that are instituted when a child, there's a lengthy process around that. I've learned a lot myself watching the debate over this bill. The process is that you have a child with gender identity issues. They work with a doctor, therapists, and psychologists, and at a certain point, the experts agree, okay, this is a child with a gender identity issue. And so they begin a process, sometimes at a young age, of beginning a transition. Now, no official transition can happen until that child is 18 and can make a decision themselves to change their gender identity. But a proceeding process can begin to make that transition easier and to also benefit their mental health until they reach that 18 years of age and can transition. And most of that's done through hormones and some other, what doctors call gender-affirming care. It's health care. Utah, because this is a political bandwagon right now, there's no science behind opposing this, but there are politics behind opposing this, and those politics happen to be in the spotlight right now for reasons I don't understand, because this is not new. This is something that's been done for 30, 40 years, and medical science is pretty advanced in it. So whether you agree with it or not, those are the facts. It's not new. It's just new that it's political. And this happens, and it's silly every time it does. But either way, like with the vouchers bill, here we are. So the bill was being debated today, and the bill would ban these things. There was a debate that basically consisted of doctors, medical professionals, and scientists on one side in a committee hearing today, and the Eagle Forum and social conservative activists on the other side, and debating medical care. Those are not two equal sides to be listening to. And yet the bill advanced out of committee and heads off to an official vote. I don't know the future of this bill. I won't guess at the future of this bill. But one thing I will guess at, because I'm not making this up myself or connecting these dots myself, this was actually the advice of legislative attorneys. Legislative attorneys told the sponsor of this bill and the sponsor of a similar bill in the Senate, which is yet to be heard, this is unconstitutional. It will be challenged in court, and at taxpayer expense, the state of Utah will lose. They're doing it anyway. So that bill did advance. Again, these are two of the school vouchers, the anti-trans bills. These are two of the most controversial issues of this legislative session, and they both came up today for, in one case, the final hearing. And it's now a done deal, school vouchers. And in the other case, about halfway through the debate on that bill. And that took up all the air in the room. So other things that the legislature is working on have been put back on the calendar. The reason that I want to bring these two up right now, though, just to tell everyone, if you're following the legislature, le.utah.gov, by the way, you can do this. You can track bills. You can search bills by keywords to see what they're about. You can follow your lawmakers, contact your lawmakers. Their information is there at le.utah.gov as well. Listen to debates from committees, House floor votes, Senate floor votes, all of that, whether they happened or are happening. You can see the calendar of when they're going to have. It's a great place. Well, it's the place. One-stop shopping, legislative access, audio, video, everything. So le.utah.gov should definitely be bookmarked if you have an interest in state policy and public policy and the legislative process, the sausage making, all of that. The other reason I bring this all up is not only to point you to that website and say, your involvement, your feedback really is important every session, but especially in this session. The other thing to think of here. So these controversial bills are now up on the calendar, and in one case at least, the voucher program out of the way as far as the calendar goes, not the public pushback. That's not going to stop. But a lot of this is happening while other things are happening, and sometimes I don't want to be super cynical here. But sometimes I think that while these bills are getting so much attention, other very important things are happening almost behind the scenes that you should be paying attention to. And that requires all of us. No matter how large a newsroom is, here at KVNU, at CashValleyDaily.com, down in Salt Lake at the Salt Lake Tribune, regardless of what media organization it is, there will never be enough people in that newsroom to cover every single issue that is important, that deserves attention, that deserves public opinion and an opportunity for people to weigh in with their lawmakers. So it requires us. So please get involved. Don't let these negative moments, like a school voucher program being backdoored in by Utah County lawmakers despite rural area voter opposition, don't let that chase you away from being a part of this. Let it actually encourage you to be a part of this, because if they aren't hearing from you, well, they're only hearing from the lobbyists. We'll be back right after this.
The colder weather is here. Are your quilts and blankets looking dingy? Is your winter coat or jacket dirty enough to stand in the corner just by itself? Well, go to Mount Logan Laundry. It'll take no time at all to freshen up everything. They have the 55 and 80-pound washers, the biggest around, and great big dryers, too, and it costs a whole lot less than dry cleaning. Free Wi-Fi and drop-off service. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town, on the corner of 5th East, 9th North in Logan, or in Brigham at 1st East, 7th South. Mount Logan Laundry.
Hi, this is Drew Allen with Allen Mortuaries. Over the years, thousands of families have planned ahead with Allen Mortuaries. Planning ahead helps you make informed and thoughtful decisions. It also spares your family the stress of making these decisions under the pressure of time and strong emotions. Allen Mortuaries' secure pre-need trust plan can save you nearly 40% versus other plans. Keep it simple, safe, and secure. go with the proven choice, Allen Mortuaries. Voted best funeral home in Cache Valley in northern Utah. Allen Mortuaries. Then, now, always.
Friday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. Look out, everybody. Netflix is going to stop you from sharing passwords. Oh, my goodness. Everybody about to get caught. Plus, Buck.
I'm going to mess around with ChatGPT to see if it can come up with monologues as insightful and brilliant, as amazing as what we've got here on the Clay and Buck Show. A little scared to find the results, but we'll share them with you on Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Other things that took place so far in the legislative session, it's not all bad. A lot of it is, though, but it's not all bad. This was, I think, multiple years they've been talking about this, and it wasn't any specific reason that it was delayed until this year. It was that they wanted to kind of get things perfect, but with unanimous approval, meaning everyone that was there to vote in the Utah House of Representatives gave a thumbs up to a bill that would provide, as of yet, unpaid for by the state, mental health services for healthcare professionals. I'm excited to see this because I think it's an oversight on our part, on any state's part, not just pointing the finger at Utah here, but healthcare professionals. So what brought this to everyone's attention, really? Well, a couple of things, and the name of the bill reveals some of it. The bill is named in honor of Dr. Scott Jolly, who committed suicide in the midst of the pandemic. And his wife, Jackie Jolly, gave an emotional testimonial, please vote for this speech, to both Republicans and Democrats on the House floor as this was up for a vote. And she discussed her husband suffering with mental health while receiving treatment within his own hospital, his own employer, and how friends and family thought that in the end they felt like what was finally too much for him was his own personal embarrassment, unjustified embarrassment over struggling with his mental health in general, while some of his colleagues did not. Representative Steve Elison, Republican from Sandy, brought this bill back. It failed last year. And again, the reason it failed was some concern over a few oversights in the bill and some questions about funding, how much exactly. But the hope is that with Utah doing this, it provides sort of a model for what Representative Elison says he hopes is one day federal legislation. So it's a big move on the state's part, and it's going to have a price tag, to say the least. But again, this is something, an oversight that makes sense once the oversight is illuminated, but maybe didn't before. But during the pandemic, what we learned about the healthcare profession is that granted, pandemics only come along, knock on wood, they only come along every 100 years or so. Who knows? I've read a thing about climate change and warming temperatures that might be a little more frequent. Hopefully not, but could be.
We just got to get rid of COVID. I mean, it just keeps changing and coming back as,
I think,
Delta, then Omicron.
Yeah, I feel
Omicron Part 4 and different things.
I feel like our window of opportunity to get rid of it passed because masks were tyranny or something. But I think we're stuck with this for now. But hopefully the next one is not for 100 years at least. But what we learned is that this was immense stress for healthcare providers, for doctors, for nurses, for counselors in hospital systems and health systems throughout the state, throughout the country. They were understaffed. Stories of nurses at the University of Utah Hospital working months without a day off. because the workload was that high at the worst of the pandemic, and just basically the stress levels and what they're seeing too. A lot of us take this for granted, but seeing some horrible things. What one nurse described to me is what felt like a wartime field triage that she was walking into every day of work without a day off for weeks. And it gets to them. So the lesson has been learned, and the state of Utah, through this bill that's being called Scott's Bill, which again passed the House unanimously this week, hoping to take a first step to better health care options.